the 39th Annual Scientific Symposium. This seminar is important and unique because it's a platform where the stakeholders, and the policy makers are getting together on the same table to discuss issues pertaining to healthcare. In this hall today, we will have talks on diabetes, gastroenterology, and pulmonology. I would now invite on stage my fellow members who will assist me for moderation of this session. May I request Dr. Atya Mukhtar. She is a consultant gastroenterologist at the Pinderfield General Hospital, UK. She is a lead in the capsule endoscopy. And another very important introduction, she's my class fellow and she's a graduate, in fact the best graduate of 1990. So Dr. Atya Mukhtar, please join us on the stage. Our student lead for this session is Mr. Omaz. Please join us on the stage as well. We'll begin with our proceedings with recitation of Holy Quran, and for this I invite Hafiz Haris.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان. الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة ونخل ورمان والحب ذو العصف والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakallah. May Allah guide us to be on the right path to serve our humanity. Our first speaker for this session is Dr. Bilal bin Yunus. Dr. Bilal bin Yunus is a professor of medicine. He's principal at Fatma Memorial College and he's going to be talking on developing diabetes services in Pakistan.
I'm very honored and I'm very grateful to the organizing committee to invite me into this very august gathering. I'm also very grateful to Dr. Anjana, one of my younger brothers. So we are going to talk about developing the diabetes services. This is something which may take a full day, but I would just like to go with very rapidly changing and loading you with the slides in 15 minutes. So it's very difficult to cover the topic in 15 minutes, but I will try to do it and I'll try my best. So we start with the current status of diabetes care in Pakistan. So just a glimpse of that. So I have divided my lecture into 5 areas, which is the prevalence, challenges and effects of diabetes, the economic impact, prioritization strategies, capacity building and future directions. Coming on to the challenges and the prevalence and facts which we are facing on the ground at the moment, let me take it from the first slide, which is the situation. This is taken from the Atlas of Diabetes, IDF Atlas, and this is 2011. If you look here, it's Pakistan is not amongst the first 10 in 2011, and whereas it was predicted that by 2020 we will be at number 10 as regard to the numbers of people with diabetes. But what happened? We have climbed to number 4 in 2019 rather than to be in number 10 in 2030. And there we are, and we are will be at number 3 in 2045. So the situation is very, very grave. This is one of the studies which was done in Hub, Balochistan, and very astonishingly, if you look what happened in that remote area, this was 2002, and the obesity at that time was 10.15%, and it climbed up to 27.82 in 2009. Smoking again from 4% to 21%, and the family history of diabetes, a survey which was conducted and published in Journal of Pakistan Medical Association, and it shows 16.52. So that probably is a true picture by virtue of which we are at number 4 in 2019. And then again, it was a study conducted in India, and there is a high prevalence of obesity, which is a risk factor in urban children. Now, these are the few factual slides which are taken from studies which are published, and these are published in international journals as well. So it was about the knowledge of the journal practitioners done in Karachi, not exactly in Karachi, but at the periphery of the Karachi. And it was the right and the wrong answers. So again, everybody agreed, 86% said the right. I'll just highlight a few things, not going into the detail. But what is the fasting diagnostic level of diabetes? 41% were able to answer it correctly. And what is the postprandial diagnostic level? You could see only 29.7% were able to answer that correctly. And when talking about, at least we were happy to know that there are a few people who know, a lot of people who know about the seriousness of the problem. However, coming on to the correct insulin injection technique, 29% of the people who were interviewed knew about, they answered it correctly, and the rest 71% did not know the correct answer of injecting insulin. So these are the challenges, these are the problems which we are facing in our country. Now the big question is, where are the gaps, what are the gaps, how to bridge the gaps. So from the patient point of view, it is definitely socio-economic burden, the myths, awareness, and the cultural backgrounds. And of course, not the least, the media as well. Now, what about the media? I don't want to talk much about it, but you must have seen a lot of paid advertisements by different hakims and different homeopathics, and they say we can treat diabetes, whatever it takes, and the people do go to them. So I request the media not to misguide these people, not to give them time to misguide our general population. And these are the healthcare systems, just very briefly. So there is a lot of load of patients which can be managed at the primary level, which are coming onto the tertiary level, thereby eating up the resources of the tertiary care level. Now, obviously, the challenges what we need to develop is non-availability of structured education, disease perceptions by the people, social and cultural barriers, poor literacy rate, and cost of diabetes treatment. These are all extremely important challenges. Coming on to the economic impact. Now, when we talk about cost of diabetic foot, it says that a family has to spend on one diabetic foot, which otherwise they would have spent in 10 years for the care of whole family. Now, this again gives you the magnitude of the cost as well. A study was conducted by Asif et al. Again in Pakistan, and this was about 7-8 years back. And the things have changed a lot now. At that time, it was assumed that there was 7 to 10% prevalence of diabetes, but now obviously it has gone up to 19% as defined by the recent IPF atlas. And at that time, to treat the direct cost, I'm not talking of the indirect cost as well. Direct cost is rupees 3,433 in classification, duty classification grade 1B, and increased to 34.495 in grade 3. So the direct cost of treating one ulcer average is 2.36 million rupees. So assuming how many ulcers you will see, and the direct cost of the treatment, if we assume 4,20,000 foot ulcers, would be 9.91 billion rupees. So where are we standing, and what resources are available to us? Again, we conducted a study in one of our centers at Lahore, and the income group was from 14,000 to 13,000 plus. And that were the people, the subjects who were recruited, and looking at the cost of the medicines, the people who were on all hypoglycemic agents, they have to spend somewhere around 550 on the average. Those who are on insulin, they have to spend 1,175 per month, and those who are on combination, it is before the newer insulins available like Ryzodeg and all these new salts, and the combination cost around 2,067. So the person who is earning somewhere around 15 to 20,000, and the direct cost, this does not include the tests, this does not include the SNBGs and so on, and the direct cost is 2,067. So these are the real challenges. And interestingly, the people who were on OHA or hypoglycemic agents, their A1C was best controlled amongst the all group, and probably cost is the factor in that. We have to build the low-cost effective strategies. We were working on that, and obviously our center is one of those, and I would like to invite as many centers who can collaborate with us. So it was low cost and effective strategies, and the group is known as ABCD, and we recommended, number one, the step-up treatment of diabetes for our population, and along with that, the SMBG strategies according to the affordability of the patients, which might be very helpful in controlling the disease. What should be the priority strategies? Now, there were 3 top priority sections, which is diabetes education, diabetic foot, and diabetes in children. We are working on diabetes education and diabetic foot. Just to, it's very simple, but all is about implementation of the few facts. What is education? This is the cornerstone of diabetes management, enhances the patient knowledge, fosters behavior changes, and promotes self-management. And they have to build external relations, the team, the diabetic educators, and this is education, lobbying, advocacy, awareness, and policy development, and that is in fact what we are here for. And what else do they need to do? Healthcare professionals or management, schools, which is a very important part of the community, the NGOs, pharmacy, industry, government, we all have to go with these institutions and tell them about the importance of diabetes. If dengue spreads, if there is an epidemic of dengue and say 100 people die or 200 people die in 1 year, we are spending whole of our funds there. But if we are losing 5 lives in 1 minute in Pakistan, then we are not much damaged to see those things. So the education, again, the cheaper resources, educator and tutor, we need to recruit, monitor the SMBGs, BP, weight, lipids, reminder for regular examinations, and so on and so forth. The educators, which are, according to what we studied, what we surveyed, there are all in all 43 units, small, big, tertiary or primary, where the educators are working, 43% of them. In the pharma industry, there are 16% what they are supporting us, and those who are sent for education abroad, total educators are only 4%. And this is about the foot, which again is a priority of IDF, and you could see the problems there very clearly. And this is one of the problems which we treated at our center, and this old man was very much debilitated and handicapped by the foot problem, and end of the day, without any much surgical procedures, this was the shape of the wound. Again, this was a patient who was a very young, 40 years of age, and the only breadwinner of the family. He was asked for amputation, came in this picture. So nothing was done surgically. We catered them in our own center, and this was the picture later on in 3 weeks' time. Again, we have to coordinate with the government of Pakistan and the government of Punjab and different big institutions which have a say in the society to join hands and work with this diabetes. So the stakeholders are public health departments, the media, pharmaceutical industries, donors, philanthropists, physician associations, teaching faculties, and of course the politicians. So if we want to improve something or develop something in our country, then it should not be in silo. It's a big forums which need to work together. Capacity building. Again, there's a concept of a multidisciplinary approach, and there are few centers, including yours, which have all the facilities available. And what we need to do is to link the centers, which we are already have done a few. you need to produce a few publications, you need to develop more research according to our own needs, and then you have to empower the primary care. Future directions are telemedia, IT, data collection, EMR, mobile health. Mobile applications, again, there is, I'm short of time, but it is proven by different clinical trials that there is obviously a concept of mobile learning in this, and there was a study done in the States, and this is according to the primary endpoint on glycosylated hemoglobins, and it was proven that there was a decrease of 1.2% over 12 months by using the mobile applications. So mobile coaching again leads to more compliance and a better outcome. So, but in mobile you have to see the reliability, diagnosis, of monitoring the diagnosis, confidentiality, and so on and so forth. In Sakina Institute of Diabetes and Endocrine Research, where I was working previously, so we tried to fill the gap by starting a service which is a mobile service. And just one last brief fact, we calculated that there are how many BHUs in the Tehsil of Gujarat, in the district of Gujarat, and we calculated the whole centers, and the total health facilities of the government of Punjab in district was 99 health facilities, and there were 117 doctors working. I'm talking about the public primary care centers. If we even take 100% presence with comparison to the population, it was 2.75 million population in the area of 3,192. Sadly, the ground reality is that 23,500 person per doctor in the government of Punjab, and it was 27.2 kilometers area where one doctor is catering. So that is a very, very grave picture. So solution is probably in both primary and secondary preventions, more empowered and regulated primary care, most feet, kidneys, eyes can be spared, and in the last, I just want to recite this share, this जिसे भी देखिए गिला वतन से है, ये नहीं मिला वतन से वो नहीं मिला, कोई नहीं जो ये कहे वतन को मैंने क्या किया, वतन को तूने क्या किया. So thank you very much for your attention.
Diabetes is definitely a mother of so many diseases, and preventing diabetes and managing it appropriately can definitely save lives. I now request Dr. Muhammad Tufail. He's President KEMU UK and Consultant Respiratory Medicine, University Hospital of Leicester, NHS Trust. He's going to be co-moderating this session, so I invite him on the stage. Please join us on the stage for moderating this session. Gastroenterologist in the Gateway Hospital, UK. Dr. Atar Saif is the man behind this Universal Healthcare Symposium that we are having today. So we must acknowledge his efforts and his ideology actually to hold this symposium here. So thank you very much, Dr. Atar Saif.
It seems grey anymore. So my name is Athar Ahmed Said. I am a graduate of 1986. I work as a gastroenterologist in the UK. Can I have a show of hands who, any people who are in gastroenterology working at the moment, either as senior physicians or as trainees? Right, so I think we have a very highly select gastroenterology audience of 3. So that's good. So I'll talk about basic skills training in endoscopy. Following my talk during this session, there are 2 other very important talks, which is Dr. Farooq Khan, who will talk about advanced skills, and Dr. Gayas Tayyab, who will talk about setting up services. So this is a very beautiful sculpture at the entrance of our Hospital, Queen Elizabeth Hospital in North of England, Gateshead. So because I'm a clinician, I will start with a case presentation. This was a trainee registrar doing a colonoscopy, an elective colonoscopy in a 70-year-old woman. And these were the endoscopy appearances. Anybody who can shout out loud what it is? This is the colonoscopy view. So this is diverticulosis. And a minute later, this was the endoscopy appearance. So is it what do you see there? Yeah, well done. So is it a good news or bad news? It's very bad news. So I'll just talk about endoscopy. Usually we do upper, lower and ERCPs. Most people are familiar with these procedures and techniques. Initially, historically, when the fiber optic endoscopy with this flexible instrument started, it used to be diagnostic, but then it is more and more therapeutic now. And there are very advanced techniques now, for example, endoscopic resections of very large lesions called EMR and ESD, and also NOTES, which is practically endoscopic surgery, which actually creates an amphitheatric perforation and goes into the body cavities to do operations. So in England, the UK, most procedures are done diagnostically on the basis of alarm symptoms, both in the upper and lower GI tract. The upper alarm symptoms are dysphagia, vomiting, bleeding, etc., mainly suggestive or of a high risk of cancer. The commonest procedures or the largest number of procedures performed are on the basis of either alarm symptoms or bleeding, both I think in the UK and in Pakistan, for the upper GI endoscopies. So what are basic skills? So basic skills is knowing the theoretical basis of performing a safe colonoscopy. So the important thing is to cause no harm first, the first rule of medicine. And for that, you have to be aware of the indications. You select your patient carefully. You have to look after the patient before you actually choose them for a procedure, during the procedure, and actually after the procedure, especially sedation, any problems with cardiac abnormalities such as arrhythmias or drop in oxygen saturation. So all of these stages are very important, and it is imperative that anybody who undertakes these procedures is fully aware of them and fully responsible for that. So this is the training structure for gastroenterology in the United Kingdom. After graduation, we have 2 foundation years, which previously used to be called the house job. The core medical training previously used to be called SHO, so that's 4 years. Then there's a 5 years training in gastroenterology, which is usually dual accreditation. Therefore, people qualify at the end of these 5 years both as gastroenterologists and as physicians in medicine. And then for advanced techniques, which Farooq will tell you about, we have post-CCT. CCT is Certificate of Completion of Training. So we have post-CCT fellowships, usually 1 to 2 years. And then uniquely in the UK, we have non-medical trainees, so that there are many nurses, about 10 to 15% nowadays, of the whole endoscopy workforce who are doing endoscopies, including colonoscopies. So in the UK, unlike in Pakistan, all the trainees have to rotate between different hospitals, usually about 4 to 5 hospitals, including T3 hospitals. Post-CCT fellowships are advertised and people go into them competitively, and as I said, between 1 to 2 years. They maintain their logbooks, which is usually on, so almost universally now, online. It is called an e-portfolio. And then there is a website called JETS, which stands for JAG Endoscopy Training System. And DOPS, which you're probably familiar with, is directly observed procedural skills, which are recorded into these electronic logbooks. So JAG is an important institution, and I think this is something very instructive for all colleagues working in Pakistan. It stands for Joint Advisory Group. It is actually mandated by various organizations, including the British Society of Gastroenterology, Royal College of Physicians, Royal College of Surgeons, to actually define, maintain, and sustain standards and monitor standards in endoscopy. There is also a bowel cancer screening program in asymptomatic patients across the country, and GRS, a global rating scale, which is an extremely important idea. So GRS is basically looking at all the endoscopy units anywhere in the country, including private units, and it defines standards below which no unit should fall, and if they do, it is, they can be sanctioned and restricted and not able to perform procedures. So this is an outstanding chap called Rohan Belori. He is a consultant in Plymouth, and we have a lot to learn from his techniques. In early 2000, early noughties, there was a drive across the UK to start bowel cancer screening program through colonoscopy. So it was thought that the perfectly healthy asymptomatic populations should not have to endure a trial by colonoscopy. So this guy defined standards. He said that not everybody can perform a colonoscopy, and not every unit can have colonoscopy facilities for bowel cancer screening program. So he had a carrot. He had a lot of money given by the government. And he also had a stick that he could actually restrict people's access to these procedures. So this generated a competition. So I think it is quite a clever technique through which all the units in the country had to bid for this program, and all the colonoscopists in the country, including senior consultants, my age, they had to sit an exam to be able to do this. So one outcome out of this was the training lists. So every unit had to actually develop a training list, which was also defined. So there are 3 to 4 colonoscopy procedures. I'm only talking about colonoscopy training because of the shortage of time. So the 3 to 4 procedures, there is one-to-one training, one consultant or a senior trainer, fully trained, has to be there with the trainee all the time through these 4 hours. And the list is reduced to tailor to the needs of the trainee. And then there is an assessment and the feedback. Immediately after the list is finished, you go to an electronic logbook, you input all your data, the consultant or the trainer will comment on the quality of the procedure performed by the trainee. And the training lists are geared, so usually there are 3 or 4 trainees per hospital, and there are a larger number of trainers. But to avoid clash with on-calls, study leaves, annual leaves, so we have a generic system. This is in our hospital, so we develop a calendar on the basis of which the trainees can pick up, and the trainers can pick up which list they want to go for. So DOPS you already know about. So this is the electronic logbook which I mentioned earlier. You go online, after every procedure, you fill this in online. So for example, this is just one section of that. The trainer will actually measure how well is the scope handled, what is the tip control like, air management, etc. And so this is, look at the top row. Initially when the trainees start, they require maximum supervision, and eventually they are competent and independent. So as time goes on, they move from the left column to the right column. So, just in the interest of time, I will skip over a few slides. Another essential component is courses, basic skill course, which is 2.5 days, one-to-one course, which we provide in our hospital. We have run about 20 courses. We charge about £1,000 per course, and this is actually a source of income for our unit as well. So this was any gastro, the only gastro trainee. What is this? What is the technique and what is the finding? So this is called a scope guide, a magnetic imaging technique, and this is an alpha loop. This is our last course, And the same course we actually had in some cities of Pakistan. Anybody can tell me which this place is? Which hospital? Your hospital, Nashtar. And this is another city, not Multan. Anybody can tell me what this is? Where this is? This is Peshawar, Qissa Khan. So Mahabad Khan was. So it is great to be able to, engage with trainees. So I think I will probably end here just with this last one slide. At the end of the training, there is an assessment which also goes on the e-portfolio. I will actually end with some recommendations, which are these ones. So I think it's imperative that the endoscopy training should be independent of specialties. So if it's a surgical trainee, a medical trainee, a nurse, or a hospital porter wants to do colonoscopies, there should be one standard and one monitoring body. This is a challenge for Pakistan, and we must develop this. We need electronic portfolios, we need formal assessments, and we need a joint advisory group. Thank you very much.
Endoscopy in UK. I just wanted to add just this one point that we as endoscopy trainers in UK, we have a very robust system where our own services are looked at. Every 4 months we get our own intubation rates, our adenoma detection rates, and our sedation rates are being monitored. And which is sort of, and we are scrutinized if our cecal intubation rate is less than 90%. So in addition to training of the trainees, the overall assessment, annual assessments of the trainers is also what is important in maintaining adequate services and developing the training of the trainers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Akhtar Said, and thank you, Dr. Athiya, for your valuable comments. I'll now request Dr. Tabinda Jugal. She's a consultant physician at the Royal Cornwall NHS Trust. She's a Kincolian of 1986, and she's a very competent doctor, and we feel proud of her for keeping our Pakistan flag high in UK. Dr. Tabinda Jugal.
Always a great honor to come back to my alma mater and share a little bit of what I have learned over the last year or so. So basically, it would have been quite easy for me to talk about what we do in the NHS. The diabetes prevention program is in full swing in the UK, but it would be really hard to make these comparisons from what is happening in the UK to what would happen in Pakistan, as that is GP-based, incentive-based program, so it would be really hard. So I was in Sri Lanka earlier this year, and I was really impressed by what they had done to prevent diabetes, and I thought I would share my thoughts about the diabetes prevention program. So I hope this will flow like a story, and my slides are not very wordy. I usually try and not keep them very wordy. So basically, they have started off this non-communicable diseases, these chronic diseases that are not communicable but have a lot of impact on the patient's life, and they have started to manage them as NCDs. And diabetes being one of them, because it requires lifelong treatment and they're chronic, and investigations are ongoing and the treatments are expensive, so therefore they have a huge impact on the sufferer or the patient. And this is a busy one, but I just wanted to show the impact of socioeconomic class 3, 4, 5s, how badly they do if they get these NCDs, the chronic diseases. So if you look at the top left-hand corner, endocrine and diabetes patients, the darker area are people in social classes 4 and 5. They definitely do worse. So the overall mortality is the full circle, and the darker shaded circles are the lower socioeconomic strata. So definitely a lot of people living below poverty line, and in our country, they would obviously do worse in the non-communicable disease if they were sufferers of that. And therefore prevention is extremely important. And the diabetes, as we all know, and I don't want to bore you with stats, that 1 in 10 adults by 2040 will have it. And I think this is even worse in Pakistan, because it would be 1 in 4 adults would have it by the next 10 years. And of course, we used to say diabetes is the mother of all diseases, but we now know obesity is the mother of all diseases because they're all overlinked. So these stats are from Sri Lanka, and basically there 40% of people, of ladies were overweight, and 38% of men were, 15% were obese, and 11% of men were obese as well. And therefore, they did a lot of work on diabetes. This is the Sri Lankan mortality from CVD and diabetes. So the larger part of the pie is cardiovascular disease and diabetes. So 43% of people who are dying there from last year were dying because of these chronic diseases. This is Pakistan, and I was slightly baffled by the fact that only 3% people were dying here of diabetes, and I thought that was poor data collection. So out of these, the CVD and diabetes, only 32 was cardiovascular, and only 3% was diabetes. And as I said, I just didn't think it was right. And this is the Sri Lankan stats again. So raised fasting blood glucose 7.4, and people with diagnosed diabetes about 19%. So overall, they are about 26%, almost at par with Pakistan. This is the prevalence of pre-diabetes and diabetes in Pakistan. So about 10.9% people have pre-diabetes, and about 16.9% have, so about 17%. So overall, it's about 28% people. So that is even more than 1 in 4 people who would have diabetes or would have diabetes in the coming few years. This is data collected by Dr. Amir, who is a consultant endocrinologist in Hyderabad Memorial Hospital in Sharjah. And of course, the impact of chronic diseases, non-communicable chronic diseases on the economy of the country. People have children of premature deaths, they have poor quality of life, they have an impact on the health services, on society and families, they all suffer together. And of course, we've all heard about this, the stitch in time saves 9, and therefore prevention is always better than treatment. And this is me in front of the Sri Lankan College of Endocrinologists, and I'll just share with you the Sri Lankan experience. Generally speaking, economically speaking, Sri Lanka versus Pakistan, their GDP is higher than ours because of population, because we are about 10 times their population. The literacy rate is 95%, and enrollment is 99% at primary school, and about 95% people complete primary education, whereas I think we are lagging behind, and we have been struggling with that. And of course, this has an impact on the chronic diseases, non-communicable diseases, how literate people are, and how easy it is to treat them, and how easy it is to communicate with them. They have a very low infant mortality in comparison with ours. So ours is about 75 per thousand, and theirs is 9 per thousand. So they've worked really, really hard on the prevention level. They have got a very good support from the health organization, the World Health Organization, and they have been committed 200 million to primary healthcare strengthening projects. I don't know what is the situation here, but we do have a national action plan for NCD. I did try to read it. It was a very, very wordy document, about 60 pages, and it didn't make much sense to me. It stopped making sense to me after a couple of pages. So I thought I'd share with you the Nirogi Project. It was a very successful project, and they have now implemented it fully. So it had 3 components. The first component was to train up nurses. They became the nurse educationists. So in the first component, this was funded by the World Diabetes Foundation. So they trained up the nurses, and the nurses were able to go out and manage their own clinics. These nurses were then invited back to come and showcase their achievements, and therefore they shared their achievements. And if they needed retraining, they had to retrain, and they were retrained. So basically, eventually the final aim was to generate enough evidence so that they could implement changes in their health system to prevent diabetes in the long term. And then there was the second component and third component. We'll discuss them one by one. So the phase 1 was to develop training materials for the nurses. So these were basic training materials for the nurses, and they made out these manuals for the nurses, which were about basic prevention of diabetes, recognizing the signs of diabetes or pre-diabetes, and picking up the patients who would be at high risk, like high BMI, gestational diabetes, people who had first-degree relatives with diabetes, and then trying to modify their lifestyle. And this is a group of nurse educators who are going to, as I said, showcase their achievements over the last 6 months or so, and of course encourage the locals to walk with them as well. This This is again a handbook for health educators, which includes the nurses, as I said, and it actually is quite comprehensive syllabus in there. Basically then, the nurse educators form this nexus in the primary care that joins them up with the GPs. And then the primary to tertiary care and communication starts. So they form a relationship between primary and tertiary care, which would usually involve upskilling from tertiary care doctors. So the tertiary care doctors would come to do clinics for about 20 weeks with these nurses and with the GPs, and to upskill them in prevention of diabetes, again, upskilling them with diabetes management, etc. And they developed labs in these smaller hospitals, and then there was a system of referral and back referral. So it was a kind of revolving door system of referring patients back into tertiary care if they needed to, or discharging them back into primary care. So the roles of GPs, they were GPs who were working in private capacity, and they were offered incentives to get involved in this scheme. And there were GPs who were in the government organizations, and they were, of course, a part of that. So this was all voluntary, and they were also paid money to do this. So basically, the primary care doctor, you can look at this cartoon. I wouldn't read what it says. Basically, their role was to motivate the staff and to get people involved and get them on board, and basically upskill them on their knowledge of healthy eating, exercise, etc. And they were working up these community awareness programs, forming youth clubs involving locals, school children, and raising awareness of the school children, and of course talking to the parents and asking them to cook healthy meals and healthy lunches that the kids would take. The teachers were communicating with the children in the classroom and telling them how to choose healthy foods and to avoid unhealthy fast food, etc. And these were public health campaigns on the billboards, so basically about smoking, choosing vegetables, and keeping active. And then, of course, there was phase 3. So phase 3 was about these people who were these healthcare professionals who were lay people, and they had been upskilled, and they actually involved these health professionals who were again lay, and they became more involved with this scheme, and they had this partnership and advocacy with people in the common masses. So basically, the lessons to be learned from here is utilizing lay people, empowering women who are basically cooking meals at home, especially mothers who have children, and using the bottoms-up approach, mainly starting from grassroots levels, and then strengthening the state of the healthcare workers and involving the communities, having activities with the communities, and making sure that they know what the utility of exercise is. So although it's a matter of personal choice, there should be an important element of personal responsibility. If people want to make healthy choices, the choices should be available for them. Then the next phase, which is 2013 to 2016, running now, and basically out of the 3 phases, I will only talk about the prevention of diabetes. They are now stressing on gestational diabetes, foot care, and prevention of diabetes. So basically, again, going into public health campaigns, and having little competitions for designing calendars in schools in which children know about healthy lifestyles, healthy diets, etc. And the result is that the promotion model worked very well in urban and suburban settings with participation and building of communication and also partnerships. And so they got the concept of health promotion officer, and they have created this new post which would be employed by the Ministry of Health. And they've developed a web portal to monitor, review, and supervise methodology of all these models. So this is an organization that they've developed. It's called the Sri Lankan Diabetes and Cardiovascular Initiative, and they actually run a lot of public health campaigns, and this is quite unique to Sri Lanka. They also have the College of Endocrinologists, which has been functioning from the 80s, 90s. So basically, I think it's time for us to face our demons. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. So really, we need to wake up to the call of 1 in 4 or less than that, 1 in 3 of us becoming a diabetic in the future. And really, there is a big need to have public health campaigns and upskilling of mothers and people who cook food in the house, serve food in the house, and also to raise awareness in the food industry. There should be proper labeling of the food and calories and etc. etc. People should know what they're eating. That's it, really.
Will you give peers in the management of diabetes in Pakistan, or maybe from behalf of Chemical UK, whether we can link to develop any program for prevention mainly?
So I think it would be very good to start a small pilot somewhere so that if we see the results, they can be actually rolled out widely. I'm quite happy to give any help that is needed. And the future would be forming organizations like the College of Endocrinologists or like an association that has interest in cardiovascular and diabetes, and then kind of collaborating with them. But it has to start at a smaller grassroots level.
Yes, I mean, a few things are in the making in Pakistan, and we are working on it as well. There are a few societies like Pakistan Society of Endocrinology, and then there are a few like Pakistan Diabetes Society. And what we are doing at the moment is sensitizing the people through the educators in the pharma industry. Also, like EHR, and we have collaborated in a few works that what is the prevalence of diabetes here, and only then a true picture came out. Before that it was like 7-8%, and now it's 19%. So what we gathered was 24, and what EHR gathered was 17, so it was a mixture, so it's 19%. Now what we are trying to do is there is a legislation which has been passed by the government of Punjab that in any school up till the grade 5, they are not going to sell any fizzy drinks to them. However, that has not been implemented. So the big question is implementation. How can we do that? I think the legislations and all these things may not become very popular with the community, but it's the sensitizing awareness. We keep on sensitizing through different seminars, through the Jan group, through the media, but still I think that is not enough. And what I believe is the literacy rate, it's not like 72% in males and 55. These are the statistical figures. If you go on to the ground reality, it's much less. So we are trying very hard, but again, there are no specific models like Sri Lanka, no real collaboration between the different societies, and that is what is the need for the time.
Do you have any plans of introducing nurse-led podiatry clinics for?
Yeah, I mean, we have a passion for this foot, diabetic foot, and I can't find, there is a clinic here which has been recently developed under one of the consultants here, Siddiqui Saab, Dr. Siddiqui, and obviously Dr. Shah is also, Professor Shah is going to get that. He was trained first in Karachi, and then he came to us in our center, which was Sagar. And we trained them. We have got a lot of foot assistants being trained. We call them in the local language Patiwala. And you know the picture which I have showed, that there was no surgical intervention at all, and it was all done by the foot assistant which we have and got him trained. And it's only to identify whether there is blood flow or a neuropathy problem. So if there is a neuropathy problem, we don't do much or refer them to any vascular surgeons. And most of the cases, as we studied and published, are because of neuropathy with an element of blood flow problem. But then these all people who are particular foot assistant, they are very good at treating these sort of feet which are having more neurological problems. But if there is blood flow problems, then obviously we do refer them to them. So what we have done in the capacity building is train them, these foot assistants, one, to identify the grade and 2 is to see whether there is a ischemic element involved or not. And if there is an ischemic element involved, which fortunately is much less, then probably they are able to do away with the neuropathic problems. And what we say is leave the wound, let the wound heal, and it will recover. And that were the few examples. We have got about 200 to 300 patients who were probably saved from amputation by virtue of these foot assistance.
I just had a comment to make, and thank you very much for saying that you are training foot assistants, but I think we have got a huge gap between the doctor and the patient. In between there is no nurse educators, there are no podiatrists. I think that is the need of the time. No dietitians, nothing in between. And that's why there is this huge gap between the patient until he reaches the doctor. There's nothing in
It's the
between.
gap between the development of the initial stages of the ulcer development that needs to be targeted.
Sorry?
I just added amendment is the gap between the starting of the ulcer development. That gap has to be targeted before it comes to that level which you showed.
I mean, I just don't understand why there are no nurse educators anywhere at all. There are no podiatrists anywhere. I can't understand it. You know, there is no reason for it. There is a huge need for it. So like Athar said about endoscopists, you know, there are nurse endoscopists. There is need for that. But I just can't understand why not. Maybe.
So what we surveyed, I mean, there are two things which needs to be highlighted. One is that there are only 10 or 12 centers, tertiary centers all over Pakistan where there is a multidisciplinary, all over Punjab, I'm sorry, where there is a multidisciplinary approach pattern is adopted. Usually they work in silos, and as I have shown in my slides, there are 43% of centers in which we do have some form of an educator, but probably there are very few centers. The centers are so few that they cannot cater, and I agree that there's a lot of things to be done. You know, it's the podiatrist. Nobody goes to a specialized podiatry training because it's a 5-year training. And what we have done is maybe 1 year or a 6 months diploma for these purposes.
I'm sorry to interrupt your flow, Bilal, but we are running out of time, so I will invite Farooq Khan now, who is second hepatologist and a physician in Leicester, and he'll talk about advanced endoscopy training. Farooq Khan.
Farooq Khan, I have a confession to make. I am not concocting, so thanks for inviting me. Important ये नहीं है कि इस वक्त आप लोगों में कितने gastro trainees मौजूद हैं. Important ये है, raise your hand and show me how many of you want to become a gastroenterologist. So many, so many.
I think we have to encourage more of them.
That's right, okay. So my talk is primarily about slightly above what most of you would understand, slightly above what most of you got your head around. But I think what's more important is, how we could use the experience from UK and how we can bring this to Pakistan. That is very relevant for all of us. This is what we will do. And I will also mention why this is very important at this stage, that we bring all that experience and knowledge to Pakistan. So just bear with me. Let me put this up. If this is the slide, if I show you this, how many of you think that this is advanced endoscopy or this is the basic colonoscopy at a trainee level? So you colonoscopy with level 1 polypectomy, GI bleed management, enteral feeding like PEG, NJ, foreign body immunosuture dilatation. Is this advanced endoscopy? No, it's not actually. These are all basic endoscopy skills. So जब आप लोग 3 साल की training करते हो gastro में, which I understand as after your IMT program, you're expected to know this. this is not advanced endoscopy. And if you have walked out 3 years without learning, then this is my fault. Then I, as a trainer, have terribly failed to actually train you guys. This is advanced endoscopy. Level 2, level 3 polypectomy, enteral stenting, esophageal stenting, duodenal stenting, colonic stenting, ERCP, EUS, ESD, which is surgical dissection, endoscopic and full thickness resection. These are all very advanced for you. I just want to give you a little flavor, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time. A comparison between Pakistan and UK training. This is really not about who's good and who's bad. I just want to show you where we stand in the UK now and where we are in Pakistan and how we can bridge it. That's all. So diagnostic upper endoscopy, आपका CPSP का curriculum ये कहता है कि जो आपका final year का student है, which is in the 3rd year, if he has done 120 gastroscopies, he's an independent practitioner, he should be allowed to do it on his own. If you look at colonoscopy, the number is the same. And the polypectomies, you have to do about 24 at the end of 3 years, and you'll be classed as an independent polypectomist. Diagnostic ERCP, there is nothing diagnostic ERCP. There isn't. Nobody does diagnostic ERCP anymore. Therapeutic ERCP 8, EUS 4. Now if you look at the UK side of it, the numbers are far more. Why is the difference? Because there is a structured, centralized program. And we can have that, that's not a problem. We can have that in Pakistan, it's not into the world. But look at this. This is very impressive. Yeah, आपके CPSP के curriculum में है. So this is your 2013 CPSP curriculum. So now they want us to focus on communication. They want you to focus on sedation and safety management, on ethical aspects. Endoscopy is not about, I've got a toy in my hand and I'm going to do what I want. No, it's not at all really. People like me who do fairly advanced procedures, believe it or not, communication is the most important thing. I run into problems, everyone who does advanced endoscopies, there are teachers of mine here, they all will bail me out for this. People who do advanced procedures run into problems, we have complications, we always have problems. But the way to deal with communication, consent, patient safety, these are all very important matters, and I'm really pleased that CPSP has picked up on this. Time to change. This is what it's all about. Doesn't even know him. So this is Peter Cotton. So he lived and retired in States, but he's a Baba ERCP. So even you guys, when you will start learning about ERCP, you will know about him. But he's a Britisher. He started his career from UK, but then he moved to States and he made a lot of changes in ERCP. He is the one who actually developed the duodenoscope where we all use ERCP. I don't know who he is and I don't know what he's doing here. This is my predecessor in Leicester, Tony Wiggs. He was, before I even joined Leicester, he retired in ages ago. And this guy brought a revolution. He really did in advanced endoscopy. इससे पहले तो सारे कहते होते थे trainee centered होना चाहिए. Every program should be trainee centered. And he said, no, that's rubbish. That's not true. We don't want trainees to be the center of it. He said it's actually the patient who's the center of advanced training program development. This will lead to population need. This will then develop how we introduce a service. This will define what the workforce we need for this. Like trainees, how many of us we need. Assessment and the quality indicators. These are all the measures that how we will plan future of endoscopy. Training paradigms, I just quickly touch upon ERCP. To become an independent ERCPist, आपको सिर्फ level 1 और level 2 achieve करना है. And that's all. Not everyone sitting in this hall who wants to become an independent ERCPist has to learn level 3 and level 4. So level 3 and level 4 is for higher centers, and there are centers in Lahore who are doing it. But this is what we need to focus on. There is another paper that came out by Kofi and Peter Cotton. What they did, they reinforced that. How did they do it? They looked at 30 documented ERCPs by all the endoscopists in UK as well as in the States. And look what they said. Level 1 and level 2 comprises 70% of ERCPs being done in hospital. ये हमारे लिए important है. पंजाब में जब हम advanced endoscopy की बात करेंगे, this is very important for us, and I'll show you in a minute. Level 3 and level 4, there are only 20% of the ERCPs being done in UK. 60,000 ERCPs है जो हम UK में करते हैं every year. Actually more than that. And only 20% of those are level 3 and level 4. The other thing that this paper has opened people's eyes on is the lack of the infrastructure and the benchmarking of the pairs. This is where assessment comes in. This is where every 4 months GRI's audits comes in. This is where we all want to look through. EUS, ek aapko achhi khabar. So you guys are not at all expected to learn EUS as a part of your training. There's absolutely no need. So don't panic. You cannot learn EUS and you will not be expected to. Whether it's radial or linear, if you look at American numbers, it's 190. If you look at English numbers, they're about 250. Although the Canadian paper, if you look at, it's very, very obvious. It is not the numbers which matters for you to become a safe and independent endoscopist with advanced scales. It's not the numbers. Anyone can achieve the numbers. It's the assessment and how do we reinforce. Kuch trainees hote hain, they achieve the same skill in 100 procedures. And there are trainees like me who might get slightly longer. So what? The European Society of Gastroenterology only released a curriculum in 2019. So पहली बात तो ये हमें घबराने की जरूरत नहीं है. Being in Pakistan, we are not far off. अगर यूरोप ने curriculum अब बनाया 2019 में, so we are not far off. So this is a bit of a relaxation. So they, on advanced endoscopy, they have issue. Okay. So these are the challenges. They think their assessment tools. They think the expectation of minimally invasive techniques are important. Quality of patient care and structured curriculum development. These are all really, really relevant. UK ERCP standard service framework, they've said about 100 to 200 cases every unit should do. Every unit, this is the bare minimum. Agar aap apne hospital mein ERCP center jate ho, that's what you have to stick on. And for training, you have to do at least 300 procedures. Now, this is what we do in Leicester. We have 2 million population, we do about 1300 ERCPs and 800 EUS. There's only 2 of us in Leicester who do EUS, so me and my colleague, we do around 400 a year. What we have done to release the workforce need, these are the 2 pinnacles of Leicester. ये वो चीजें जो मैंने introduce की है Leicester में for advanced endoscopy training. What we do now, the first program, Department of Health, for 6 months, we take training who's already in advanced training, and then we offer them a very advanced program. इसको मैंने replicate किया है into the EUS curriculum for Punjab. There are 2 days, one जो FCPS करके अभी निकल रहे हैं, they'll do advanced endoscopy programs, and the one who are already doing high skill procedure, and they can learn 6 months short fellowships. How do we go back? Take things in Pakistan. This is Punjab. You can see the dot in Lahore, and I think that's how it should be done. Higher specialist centers will need to be focused first, and I think this is the golden era when we can do it. Why? Because there is already a project and a program we will hear shortly, whereby the government of Punjab is funding the institutions to introduce this program. I'll quickly talk about higher specialist centers. I think from Lahore you have Sheikh Zayed, you have LGH, and you have PKLI. These 3 centers should really take the lead on advanced endoscopy training. How should they do it? They should do 1 to 2 year advanced endoscopy fellowship program. They should also offer courses. There should be 6 months, like I'm doing in Leicester, there should be 6 months accelerated programs, and they should also declare themselves and then revisit those consultants who they have trained. They go out in other centers and come back. This is the last slide, you'll be very pleased to know. And this is what my vision is. This is what very close to me is. And all of us who live in UK, or all of us when we sit down, we always talk about it. And this is, I think we should have an advisory group endoscopy. Someone has to take the ownership of endoscopy training in Punjab. But that's how I feel, that there should be a local expert faculty who also should employ on voluntarily basis an international faculty. I use the word carefully, so that there is a curriculum development and there is delivery of training as well as services in Pakistan. I'll take questions now, guys.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khan. It's now my privilege.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aisha, for the kind introduction. It's always good to be back to the alma mater. I have been in this institution starting from 1980 and I left this institution in 1992 when I joined Part-1 Medical University as faculty. And ever since I have not come back to this institution, but coming back is always good. My two predecessors, Dr. Part-1 and Dr. Ahmed Said, has very nicely highlighted the problems in the GI training, basic as well as advanced, and the concept that Dr. Farooq has given in the form of page. Let me tell you that we are not too far away from that. I started working on developing a systematic training in gastroenterology something around 1998. Let me tell you with happiness that we have achieved something. I've always worked on the systems, I've always tried to improve the systems, and we've tried to, we've got to a stage where there's something in the form of a hope for the people who want to pursue their training and their career in gastroenterology. Although we are not exactly where we should be, there's certain problems in the policy making side, there's certain problems in the policy implementation side, but then we are somewhere, and who are the ones who are going to make the minimum standards development in the specialty? The solution offered by foreign colleagues, Dr. Ahmed Said and Dr. Farooq, they are very good, but let me tell you that if we want to bring a change, there has to be something coming from the local scenario. And what is the local scenario? Obviously, there are universities like Nirogi Medical University, University of Health Sciences, Part-1 Medical University, Rawalpindi Medical University. Then there are colleges which offer the postgraduate medical education, College of Physician Surgeons. And then on top of that, I'm not really sure what should I call, PMDC or Pakistan Health Commission, जो सामने बैठने से पूछ लेते कि आजकल कौन सा चल रहा है, PMDC सब PMC, PMC. Let me tell you that I'm one of those persons nearing the retirement in the medical profession. मुझे भी नहीं पता कि who is the governing body. So something which we should understand कि कुछ है यहाँ पे मसले. And then we have been adopting the guidelines from the international societies like policy papers from American Gastroenterology Organization, American College of Gastroenterology, and similarly from the British Society of Gastroenterology. And then we have certain guidelines from our provincial health department. So based on these, we develop minimum standards. And in that, in 2017, we started working on a project which is called Establishment of Hepatitis Clinics and GI Departments of all tertiary hospitals in Punjab. It's a new specialty. I'm sure those, since majority of you are working in Mayo Hospital, you all understand that Mayo Hospital has been the mother of almost all the hospitals. And somehow, for some reason, in Mayo Hospital, developing a new specialty is always checked. And same is the case at other hospitals as well. But in other hospitals, let me tell you that this kind of resistance is relatively less as compared to Mayo Hospital. It's an idealistic concept. I understand that when I was a medical student in 1984, cardiology started as a niche specialty. And there always used to be fight between professor of medicine and professor of cardiology that who is going to be the owner of cardiology patients. But then, right today, they are not new cardiology departments, they are not established cardiology departments in almost all the tertiary hospitals of Punjab. But in this scheme, we had planned to develop one gastroenterology unit and endoscopy suite and new gastroenterology specialty in all the teaching hospitals and in all the medical colleges. And there's a huge gap between the need and service delivery for the reason being that in the community there are many available service. Farooq Khan साहब ने कहा कि 2 million की population में they do 1300 ERCPs per annum. Mayo Hospital का जो catchment area उससे कहीं ज़्यादा है, 2 million से कहीं ज़्यादा है. Now look at your own hospital. कि आपके अपने हॉस्पिटल में कितनी ERCPs होती है, आपके अपने हॉस्पिटल में कितनी endoscopies होती है, आपके अपने हॉस्पिटल में कितनी यूएस होती है. So huge gap exists, and if we put all the hospitals together of Lahore, let me tell you again, there's a huge gap, meaning by that we are not able to provide the kind of services which are required for our patients. Lahore की population as we get to 12 million, and 12 million के age, I expect that we should be doing something around 12,000 ERCPs a day. I'm the one who is doing ERCP since 1995. Let me tell you, the best number that we have achieved is not more than 800 to 1,000 per annum in a single institution. So we have a huge gap. Young बच्चे ज़्यादा बैठे हैं, 14 February का सबको पता होता है कि Valentine Day, but this is the day when our concept was accepted and approved in a government department called Planning and Development wing. और ये याद रखिए कि आप बच्चों को तो शायद ना पता हो कि PhD की approval का क्या मतलब है, but those who are sitting in the front rows, they understand that acceptance by PhD and approval by PhD means कि एक सहीफा हो गया कि जो एक दफ़ा approve हो गया, then the scheme has to be implemented. उसमें delay हो सकती है, लेकिन उसमें कभी भी ये नहीं होगा कि खत्म. So 14 February 2017 was the day when this scheme was approved, and we did the gap analysis, we set the project goals, and this is the distribution map of the 17 autonomous medical institutes of Punjab, and that you can see that we have 44 teaching hospitals. When we started, we had just 2 gastroenterology departments in whole of Punjab in 2017. They were in Sheikh Zayed Hospital, and the other was in Lahore General Hospital. And from that point onwards, we set our phase 1, 3, जिसमें तीनों ही साउथ के थे. तीनों साउथ का मतलब ये है कि हमने बनाना था एक फैसलाबाद में, एक कृष्ण में और एक रहीम खंड. That was phase 1. In phase 2, another 10, and in phase 3, rest of the areas. So with this phasing, in 3 years, we were expected to make 17 gastroenterology units. Up till now, with all the economic crunch and change of the government, we have been able to set 5 gastroenterology units in the province, and that's how we have been going. For that, we went through an extensive consultative meeting with the Planning and Development Department, Health Department, with all the stakeholders. Data was collected, state committee was nominated, presentation was made to the committee. और जो पेश की बात की है, this is something very similar to that, जिसमें मुख्तलिफ stakeholders थे, मुख्तलिफ senior बंदे थे. And this is the overall concept that kind of supervisory called Punjab Institute of Digestive Diseases concept was introduced, very similar to the concept that we have in the ophthalmology college in Nirogi Medical University. We had a project which was expected to get the reporting from Untitled Chapter, Endoscopy suite in all the different institutions, and administrative control had to remain with the principal and medical supervisor. Scheme impact was that we had the 17 GI teaching units. Okay. So, in the scheme, we were expected to make 17 teaching units, and you can see the impact that 136 PG trainees were expected to be enrolled, 68 FCPS qualified junior faculty to receive on-job training, कोई बात नहीं job सब कह रहे थे. And then 680 new beds were expected to be added, 6,300 endoscopic procedures. Yani patient-driven, patient-focused approach was adopted in this, and in that we had hepatitis clinic. We all understand that hepatitis is a big problem in our community, as much as 9% of our population suffering from hepatitis. And in order to cater for that, though the target is treating as many as at least 350,000 patients per annum in the patient side in the government hospitals, and then the rest in the private side. We had aimed 1,25,000 patients in the teaching hospital, leaving the rest for the primary secondary department, and we will talk about that. This is the organogram of the working of these departments. And this is the difference that is expected to make. I'm sorry that these slides are not coming up because of the light, but to make things easy, that the faculty and the doctors who were expected to be trained, they were supposed to fill the missing links, missing gaps, which are there in the community, maybe in the primary secondary department, maybe in the higher centers like PKLI, Shogakhanam or other places, and similarly in the private sector in the community. So making the difference where it matters the most, this is the motto, this is the theme, and I'm sure the talk which has been made by Dr. Atta Saeed and similarly by Dr. Farooq Khan, they're happy to know that we are somewhere on the line, or not exactly on the line, and we hope that in the coming days, once the 17 units are in place, we'll be able to deliver a better service, we'll be able to do exactly what is really required for our community, and getting to those numbers, patient-centered, we'll be able to provide better services to our patients. I thank you for your patient listening.
My next speaker is Hafiz Ijaz Ahmed. He's Chairman Nephrology and Director Medical Education, Hospital Dean, Pakistan Kidney Liver Institute. May I request Dr. Hafiz Ijaz Ahmed?
Can I make a very quick announcement? We have distributed these feedback forms. These are essential requirement for the Royal College of Physicians for accreditation. So this session is actually accredited for CPD. So please fill these in and maybe just leave them on your seats when you go. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable chairpersons, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. Pakistan Kidney and Liver Institute has been one of the most talked subjects during the last year on social media, in the press and TV channels. And I think that it is with this background that Dr. Atta Saeed wanted me to give an update, because wherever I go, I meet a person and people come to know that I am from PKLI, the first question is, "Oh ji, hali bhi chal rahe hai?" So that is the question in the people's mind, that where PKLI is now, Pakistan Kidney and Liver Institute. So PKLI was started with a vision statement to create a center of excellence. Actually, the founders used to say that we will make the Harvard of Pakistan, standing the treatment of kidney and liver diseases and then extending to other specialties to deliver state-of-the-art medical care without discrimination, foster culture of prevention, original thinking, research and medical education. And 4 important mission points were established. That first of all is the excellence in treatment. Second is to develop and implement strategies of prevention in order to reduce the burden of disease and its financial implication on the society. Thirdly, to provide highest standard of medical education both at undergraduate and postgraduate levels, and to promote cutting-edge research and bridge the gap between scientists and the clinicians. Pakistan Kidney and Liver Institute was conceived as an idea back in 2014 when Professor Saeed Akhtar from Shifa Hospital met with the Chief Minister of Punjab at that time. And an act was passed by the Punjab Assembly, PKLI Act of 2014, to make an Later on, this year, the previous act was repealed, and in March, a new act in March 2019 has been passed for the PKLI. So as a state-of-the-art integrated healthcare facility and a full-service hospital dedicated to urology, nephrology, gastroenterology, hepatology and transplantation, along with a modern research center. The groundbreaking was done in August 2015. The successive objectives were that we have to address the burden of disease along with poverty. So on one side, the PKLI should give relief to the poor and destitute to deliver quality health care, particularly in terms of liver and kidney transplant, and at the same time provide a center to serve the patients who could pay. And that is why it was a cross-subsidy model, that you charge the rich and give it to the poor, and then joined with by the government funding, and whatever is left should be fulfilled by the charitable donations. The government at the very outset spelled its responsibilities that government will provide land, it will construct and equip a hospital with 470 beds, and once the hospital is complete, then it will provide initial expenses, running expenses for 3 years, and afterwards 25% of the running expenses every year will be paid by the government, and rest of the funds will be raised by PKLI itself through clinical services, by business ventures and collection of donations. This is in January to March 2017. When I joined PKLI's team, this was a flat land. And within a matter of weeks to months, a sprawling complex of buildings were erected. It is a huge speed from February, March of 2017 to, I think this is August of 2017. And then this is December 2017. The hospital was almost complete, although a lot of construction is going on in the background, and it is still not complete, it is being equipped. But this is the view of December 2017, when on 25th, the hospital was inaugurated. At the same time, parallel to PKLI, in one corner of PKLI, another building was made, hepatitis prevention, treatment and control and center. And this started early on in March of 2017. And this hepatitis prevention and treatment center was declared as the Nerve Center for Hepatitis Prevention and Treatment Program, HPTP. And since its establishment, the clinic has been seeing and treating every day over more than 300 patients, and sometimes even up to 800 patients a day. And then 23 centers, satellite centers were established in the district headquarter hospitals, or along with that, with the nerve center being in Lahore. And under the primary and secondary health care, this was a 3-tiered program. The rural health centers and Tehsil headquarters, there were 101 centers, 23 centers at DHQs, which was under PKLI, and the third leg of the program was in the teaching hospital headed by Professor Dayasun Nabi Tayyib. And lately, this year in July, now the Health Minister and Primary and Secondary Health has revamped the whole program and have brought all these 3 centers into one joint venture. So now these 23 centers of PKLI have been handed over to the Health Department for further running. But very early on in 2017, WHO recognized the services of HPTP and HPTC, and in its one of its publications, the PKLI was mentioned as an important player in the future control of hepatitis virus in Pakistan. The PKLI hospital itself was conceived and planned as a 470-bedded hospital, which included in its first phase 275 inpatient beds, 43 intensive care beds, 52 emergency beds, 12 filter clinics, 27 emergency dialysis machines, and 31 dialysis machines centered as a maintenance dialysis, 6 endoscopy suites, and recovery beds. So this all would make 470 beds in the first phase. And this still is going on. The long-term sustenance model was that gradually starting from totally free patients to fully paid services within 3 years. 25% should be fully paying and 25% should be fully free, and 50% would be paying part of their service expenses. And that was the model, that 25% patient should be dealt with as a totally free patients and 25% would be paying full and then partly paying rest of the 50%. But as of today, in the last 2 years, 93% of the patients which have been treated are fully free, paid by the government funding. When the hospital is completed of its 470 bed, this is the recapitulation. This would be scope of service after the initial 3 years. This much work would be done in terms of the kidney transplant, liver transplant, surgeries, lithotripsy, endoscopy, ERCPs, dialysis treatments, and rest of the investigation procedures in terms of radiology, interventional procedures. So this was a huge forecast that once the hospital is complete, within 3 years, this much workload would be established by the hospital. As of now today, this is the update as after 2 years of its initial inauguration. Actually, the hospital was inaugurated at the very beginning, but it was not complete, and it is still not complete. So we must all understand that this hospital is still in making. And as of today, we have 75 inpatient bedrooms. This hospital is established based on 1 bed, 1 room. There is no ward. There are 28 ICU beds, 10 beds emergency, 34 dialysis machines centered, and another 27 for the emergency is being completed. In all, 18 operating theater will be there. But in the last 2 years, we have been working in 2 operation theaters, and another 6 will be handed over within next few weeks. There are 34 OPD clinics, which is currently working in the ER space of the future. Radiology department is functional with 2 CT scans, an MRI, PET scan. Interventional radiology procedures including TACE and stenting have been done. Pathology lab is functional partly, and just recently the immunology services have been added where the HLA typing and cross-matching and flow cytometry are already established. So this is just a view of how PKLI is working currently, the reception area of the OPD. This is the corridor of the inpatient rooms, the operation theater which is totally modular, the ICU bed with independent pendants on both sides, the dialysis center. This is the centralized unit for the autoclaving and sterilization, CT scans, MRI, lithotripsy, another would be added next year. the SPECT scan machine, the PET scan, these are fully functional. The first liver transplantation was done in March of this year, and then successively 3 transplants were done. And they were done in difficult circumstances, when the things are still not fully available. We are still waiting for the equipment, and then this surgery was stopped, and then it has been restarted. Last week we have done the 4th liver transplant, and all 4 were very flawless, smooth recovery. Patients were up and about within 1 week, and they were home in 10 days. Over the past 1.5 years, this is the workload which we have accomplished within those limited services. OPD visits, admissions, procedures, endoscopies, hemodialysis treatments, urology procedures, total surgeries, kidney transplants, and liver transplants. This is just a view that where PKLI is now. PKLI has been running and doing its job with whatever was available. This is just a comparison of the first 9 months of 2018 and then of 2019. So this is a work in progress. So, as of now, the way forward, PKLI is a national asset. It has been established with the hard-earned money of Pakistani people. It has to develop, and it has to give services to poor and needy and all those who can afford this treatment along with that. So it should be a cross-subsidy model where, along with government funding and along with charity donations and services expenses, this institute should function. We visualize it as a quaternary referral center for liver and kidney diseases. And it should be made a center of excellence for liver and kidney transplantation and for complex hepatobiliary and oncological procedures. It should function as an academic and training center for subspecialty training with advanced fellowships, and I visualize that our faculty from all over Punjab should have rotation for those advanced procedures and trainings for the capacity building on the provincial level. And then it should be a hub for research and innovation, because it is going to be equipped with the most latest and very advanced Tier 3 data center, where there is a huge capacity of data gathering and analysis, and it would be a support for the research being done of any academic institution within the country. And the very important aspect is now that despite all what is going on in social media and on the TV channels, the current government is fully committed to make it functioning. The health minister has been visiting quite a few times, and the chief minister was also there. So I think PKLI is and will remain a national asset, and it is functioning at a partial level. It will be completed within the next few months to a year, and it will become to its fully functionality. And I hope that Center of Excellence sometime in the future will become Harvard and Cambridge of Pakistan. Thank you.
We're running out of time. I think we'll move on to the next talk, which is going to be Dr. Mohammed Tufail. He is a chest physician and cancer lead in Leicester Hospitals. Dr. Mohammed Tufail.
10 minutes or so, I will quickly whiz through the early detection of lung cancer and what we can do to diagnose this quite lethal cancer early and treat it as soon as possible. And then I will be followed by Professor Kabrak Jima, who will be very much interested in what is happening in Pakistan on this prospect. So I will also talk about the organization of lung cancer Symposium at Glenfield Hospital in Leicester, where I work, and what we to change the services. So the median survival for lung cancer is only 6 months, and I have taken a comparison of colorectal cancer. Our gastroenterologists and colorectal surgeons have done a tremendous job to improve the survival rates. And just as a comparative, you can see how bad the prognosis of lung cancer is. And only 15% of the patients have survived at 5 years after diagnosis, as compared to 60% in colorectal cancer. And there are lots of more than 35,000 deaths only in the UK in 2016. The main thing is early detection, basically. If you diagnose lung cancer early at stage 1A and is surgically treated, the 5-year survival is 90%. But on the other hand, if you diagnose it later on at stage 4, the prognosis is only 3% at 5 years. But unfortunately, and this is very unfortunate, that 70% of the lung cancer is diagnosed at stage 3 and 4. There are late presentations throughout the world. And importantly, this is a preventable cancer. So our governments have taken strict actions. There is a pledge to end smoking altogether in England by 2030. And luckily, we don't have any carcinogenic and pollutant environment in UK, and we don't have such toxic behaviors there as well. And there are many major therapeutic advances in lung cancer, which include minimally invasive surgery, ablation for curable disease, to targeted treatments, new immunological treatments, checkpoint inhibitors to improve the survival of this cancer. These are exciting times for lung cancer treatments. And you know, we have identified about 50 mutations, driver mutations in adenocarcinoma of the lung, and there are many more medicines that have become available to target these mutations. So there are targeted treatments for lung cancer. This is an era of precision medicine. And we all know that if we give these targeted medicines to the patients, they do much better than those who just get standard chemotherapy. So what we can do to improve lung cancer care? So I think there are two main things. One is early detection of lung cancer. So that we detect more and more lung cancers early so that we can cure them by treating them surgically. And that involves screening. And once a patient is diagnosed through screening process or through other presentations, then we treat them as soon as possible. So coming back to screening, so in 2011, this is the biggest national lung cancer screening trial from USA, where they recruited over 53,000 patients, and in one arm there was an intervention of CT scans at 0, 1, 2, and 3 years, as compared to just the chest X-rays, and they compared the groups over a period of 7 years, and you can see they have proven that by just doing lung cancer screening in the population, you can reduce the mortality by 20%. So that makes the basis of a huge evidence base for that. And this is followed by a Dutch and Belgian trial, which was presented last year in September, which is a Nelson trial, and you can see this trial again involved more than 15,000 patients and has shown 26% reduction in mortality by just screening of these high-risk groups. And these are many UK-based trials and pilots, mainly the UKLS one, where they, through the screening process, they have diagnosed many patients at early stage, and importantly, many more patients were diagnosed at stage 1 and 2, so that they can be treated early. So there's no doubt about that, through these studies, through these randomized control trials, that screening does work. So what we are going to do in the UK, that our health department is going to spend £70 million to do screening of these lung cancer patients. We are not going to target lung cancer screening to scare the patients. We are going to give it a diplomatic name of health checks. So how it will work is, in the supermarkets, we are going to put trucks of CT scanners. As the people come for shopping in these supermarkets, and they will be invited to have a CT scan while they finish their shopping. If they are smokers or ex-smokers and they are aged between 55 to less than 75, they will be invited, and if they fall in the high-risk groups, they will have spirometry, blood test, and a CT scan there and then. And I think this way we are going to detect more and more lung cancers, and in our area, at least in my area, near Leicester, in OB, we are going to start in April next year. So that was all about screening and lung cancer, what we can do, and once we diagnose the lung cancer, how we can make the pathway as fast as possible. So there is no doubt about that faster treatments do work, that if this is the data from PNN 7th edition, and you can see that if the tumor size is up to 1 centimeter, the 5-year survival rate is 92%, and if your tumor has increased in size to 2 to 3 centimeter, and that 5-year survival rate goes down to 77%. So quicker you treat the patient, better it is. Don't let it grow. So millimeters matter, and speed matters. So I was appointed as the head of lung cancer services about 18 months ago at Glenfield Hospital. I will give you an example of what we have done at Glenfield Hospital to make things fast in next few slides. So the crux of our pathway is the direct to CD pathway. So how it works in the UK is that the general practitioners are sending the patients for chest x-rays to the hospitals for anything like cough, shortness of breath, etc., etc. So we are performing about 400 chest x-rays per day in our hospitals, and when a general practitioner sends the patient for chest x-ray, they also give them a leaflet that if your chest x-ray is abnormal, the radiology department may contact you to have a CT scan there and then. Patient attends for a chest x-ray, that chest x-ray is reported by a specialist within 24 hours, and if that chest x-ray is suggestive of lung cancer, that patient will be invited by radiology for a CT scan, and that will happen within 3 days. During this process, GP doesn't need to do anything. There is no bureaucracy. We just remove the bureaucracy. We just own the patient from there. As soon as we pick the patient on chest x-ray, we will perform a CT scan, which will be reported within same day, most of the time, 88% of the time, same day, if not within 24 hours. And once that CT scan is done, our lung cancer specialist nurse will go to the CT scan department and take a brief history from the patient and present the patient at our triage meetings, which happen every day. So in the triage meeting, what will happen, the nurse will present the patient to us, we will have the report of the CT scan, and we will make all diagnostic planning. We will take the patient even track to test, bronchoscopy, EBUS, etc. So this is the data from 1,500 patients over 9 months or so. So you can see we are getting more and more patients at the right place. So if patient doesn't have lung cancer, we will call the patient, you don't have cancer, you don't need to come to the hospital. But if they have got cancer, we will invite them to come to hospital same day. And most of the time we will perform endoscopy next day. And this is our small cell lung cancer pathway. So post-biopsy alert, if a small cell diagnosis is made, our pathologist will email me and medical oncologist, and we will perform, we will give chemotherapy as soon as possible. So this is an example. Patient comes with shoulder pain, X-ray is done on 5th of March. This is abnormal. Chest X-ray is performed on 8th of March, followed by CT scan. This is a penthouse tumor. We do a triage meeting on the same day, bring the patient into the clinic, perform a neck node biopsy at the same time. Within 3 days, we diagnose small cell lung cancer and give the patient chemotherapy. So within 3 days, patient gets the chemotherapy. It can't be faster than this. And we are going to present our findings at the British Specific Oncology Group next month in Dublin, and our immediate diagnosis and treatment is only 6 days at Glenfield Hospital. And this is another example of emergency presentation. This patient comes for chest X-ray with chest pain, and then followed by CT scan. Our lung cancer specialist diagnose the patient with spinal cord compression on a clinical basis. We do a CT scan, bring the patient to our unit, and give palliative radiotherapy next day. So this way, we have reduced the emergency route of presentation. Last year, there were 24% of the patients presented through emergency route, and this year only 13%. And this is, again, we are going to present a pre-talk meeting, and we are performing patient satisfaction surveys all the time, and most of the patients have given us excellent to very good feedback. As far as the future developments are concerned, there is lots of research going on to develop the blood tests, even breath test biomarkers to screen the patients, and there is deep learning methods, algorithms for the computers. Artificial intelligence is already in place to report chest X-rays and CT scans. And in summary, early detection of lung cancer through CT scanning is clinically proven, and it is cost effective. It will save lives, and faster lung cancer pathways improve outcomes and patients' experience. And there are many technical and pharmacological service developments going on. My thanks to patients and our MDT team who worked hard to make all this happen. Thank you.
Very valuable and informative talk on the lung cancer. He's also going to be conducting a workshop on thoracoscopy on the 20th of this month. My next speaker is Dr. Kamran Chima. He is a leading pulmonologist of the country. He is currently serving as Professor of Pulmonology and Critical Care Medicine at Services Institute of Medical Sciences. Another important introduction. He is the better half of my very dear friend and a school fellow. That was another very important introduction that I just gave. And he's going to be talking on screening and organization of the lung cancer services in Pakistan.
नतीजे में वो आया, उसको थोड़ा सा मैं मेरे पास टाइम बहुत थोड़ा है, लेकिन पाकिस्तानी पर्सपेक्टिव में इसे देखने की कोशिश करेंगे। जी वीडियो में बस ये पेशेंट को रैंडमाइज किया गया टू एक्सरे एंड लो डोज सीटी। एक्सरे का फायदा नहीं था, लो डोज सीटी से अर्ली कैंसर डिटेक्ट हुए। बट जस्ट टू पुट थिंग्स इन पर्सपेक्टिव, 1000 एसिम्प्टोमेटिक हाई रिस्क पेशेंट्स स्क्रीन करने से 3 लाख कैंसर डेथ्स प्रिवेंट हुए, और उन 1000 पेशेंट्स के ऊपर जो है वो बार-बार हर साल सीटी स्कैन किए गए। सो लॉट ऑफ कैंसर जो ये भी देख रहे हैं वो एडवांस्ड है, जो हम भी देख रहे हैं वो एडवांस्ड है। स्क्रीनिंग का रोल है, बट आवर रोल इज टू ट्रेन our doctors on how to better manage this and then talk about prevention rather than screening if we can. और थोड़ा सा मैं आपसे शेयर करूँगा जो हम एयरवे इंटरवेंशन कर रहे हैं। रिस्क फैक्टर्स सारी दुनिया में स्मोकिंग है, पाकिस्तान में स्मॉग भी है, एंड आई थिंक इस वक्त सिविल सोसाइटी को स्मॉग के मुताबिक अवेयर हुई है। एस्बेस्टस अभी भी पाकिस्तान के स्वाद के एरिया में माइनिंग में होता है, हम मीजोथीलियोमस देखते हैं वहाँ से आते हैं लोगों में। और ये वो डेटा है जिस पे वो लंग कैंसर स्क्रीनिंग रेकमेंड की गई और अप्रूव की गई। तो इससे पता लग रहा है कि पेशेंट्स में 500 के करीब पेट्स हुए, 5000 इजाफी सीटी स्कैन हुए, फिर उनकी बायोप्सियाँ हुई तो जाके वो लंग कैंसर डेथ्स प्रिवेंट हुई। यानी फॉर एवरी 1000 asymptomatic patients who were screened, but these were high risk patients. They had 30 year history of smoking and had smoked up until at least 15 years ago. 390 nodules were seen over the next 3 years by annual CT scan, and then 90% of the nodules were benign, and some were already advanced, some were indolent cancers, and about 3 lung cancer deaths were prevented. तो डेटा तो बड़ा impressive है, हम इसको रेप्लिकेट नहीं कर सकते। हम क्या कर सकते हैं, हम एडमिशन में जो कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि बायोप्सीज, आई थिंक इसका पास टाइम नहीं है, बट ये मैं डॉक्टर के ख्याल से डिस्कस करूँगा। हम जो सर्विसेज हॉस्पिटल में कर रहे हैं, हमारे पास ब्रोंकोस्कोपी, अल्ट्रासाउंड ब्रोंकोस्कोपी, जस्ट ऑर्डर्ड रेडियल अल्ट्रासाउंड, नेविगेशन हमारे पास नहीं है। वी बिन डूइंग कन्वेंशनल TBNA, और अब हमारा IBUS आ गया। दिस वाज द पेशेंट who we didn't have IBUS, but हमने से conventional TBNA कर दी थी, and we were able to make a diagnosis। हम core vaccine लेते हैं conventional। This is a slide from 5 years ago, this video. So in the interest of time, I'll just, this was a nodular sclerosing variety of Hodgkin's lymphoma we diagnosed with a conventional TBNA। तो पेशेंट को ऑपरेशन के लिए देखने के लिए भी हैव टू डिसाइड कि उसमें कार्डियोपल्मोनरी रिजर्व्स हैं कि वो सर्जरी करा सके। कोमॉर्बिड्स तो नहीं है और किस सर्जन के पास जाएं, बिकॉज दैट ऑल्सो मेक्स अ डिफरेंस। ये जितने लंग कैंसर स्क्रीनिंग ट्रायल में लोग थे ये सारे एसिम्प्टोमेटिक थे, 90% पढ़े लिखे अंग्रेज थे। तो हमारे यहाँ तो स्क्रीनिंग का ये हाल है कि मुझे शर्म आनी चाहिए ये कहते हुए कि एट द एज ऑफ 58 आई माई सेल्फ हैव नॉट हैड अ स्क्रीनिंग कोलोनोस्कोपी येट। तो शायद करानी चाहिए हमें, तो करनी चाहिए थी ना। चलो मैं सोचा था 60 पे कर लेंगे। तो ये है, तो हमारे पेशेंट्स को आते ही नहीं, हम उन्हें बुलाते भी हैं तो नहीं आते। तो जो पहले से पेशेंट बीमार है, सर्जरी नहीं हो सकती, उसमें आप प्रिवेंटिव नहीं कर सकते। सॉरी कि आपको ये स्लाइड नजर नहीं आ रही, वैसे भी टाइम नहीं है। तो बहुत सारे पेशेंट्स हमारे जो आते हैं वो एडवांस डिजीज से आते हैं, इनऑपरेबल होते हैं, उनमें पैलिएटिव केयर ही की जा सकती है। उसके अंदर हम क्या कर सकते हैं, ये पेशेंट आप देखें, डॉक्टर तफैल पाकिस्तान में पेशेंट किस स्टेज में प्रेजेंट करता है। ये पेशेंट आ रही है, ऐसे सांस नहीं आ रहा, ये पल्स ऑक्सीमीटर में सैचुरेशन आप देखेंगे इस वक्त बैठे पे 54% है। ये सीधी यहाँ से ट्यूब पे गई, वेंटिलेटर पे गई और उसके बाद ओटी में ले जाके ट्यूब निकाल के इसको रिजिड ड्रॉप करनी पड़ी हमें। And she has a tumor sitting right here. This is a big tumor blocking the trachea. Not operable because ना इसकी ट्रेन हो सकती है इधर है. Fortunately for her, we do. I'm the only pulmonologist in my trainees. We do rigid bronchoscopies as well. So हम समझते हैं कि intervention उसके बगैर safe नहीं है. So we were able to take it out. और fortunately for her, this was a benign tumor, and she is cured. तो ये हमने इस दौरान उसको काफ़ी ऑटो पीपिंग हुई, वी हैड टू पुट इन द कैथेटर टू ब्रिंग डाउन द ऑटो पीप। तो ये ट्यूमर हमने 3 पीसेस में निकाला। देयर इज ऑलवेज अ रिस्क, उसमें फायर्स का भी है, आवर सर्जन ऑन बैकअप वी डू दिस, और वी यूज क्रायो टू गो एंड टेक द ट्यूमर आउट, इट टेंड्स टू फॉल डाउन। तो दिस वाज अ वेरी ब्रॉड बेस्ड tumor and she is cured now. So I think this is not a liver transplant, but this is also a life-saving procedure in someone who would otherwise be dead and is curative because she had benign disease. ये अभी ट्यूमर पीछे और पड़ा है, इसको भी बल्क किया एक ही गो में, और फिर जो बाकी रह गया स्टॉक उसको हमने एपीसी के साथ जला दिया। बीम केयरफुल के पीछे कोई फिस्टुला का बन गया, क्रायो से उठाया। इसको जब दोबारा जाके हमने स्टडी करना है, वी सॉ हर अगेन a month later and then I'll show you the video at 2 months, तो बिल्कुल उसकी re-epithelialized हो गई surface है, she is cured because she had a leiomyoma, highly vascular leiomyoma. So a lot of blood vessels, but no malignant cells. After a month अभी ये स्टॉक पड़ा है, but we did nothing because we knew कि हमने APC लगाई है, ये छट जाएगा. So we just waited कि कहीं इसको हम ज़्यादा खराब करें, फिस्टुला में बन जाए. This is after 2 months, so सारा epithelialized हो गया. Trying to do that. This is a younger patient who came to us again with the central tracheal tumor. She is young and इसका ज़रा narrow stalk का tumor है, तो we were able to take it out in 25 minutes, and it turned out to be a giant cell tumor, and she was also cured. इस तरह हमारे पास malignant tumors के cases refer होके आ रहे हैं. We are seeing patients with post-intubation tracheal strictures जहाँ पे कि हम उनकी डायलिटेशन और स्टेंटिंग्स कर रहे हैं. तो वी हैव अ प्रोग्राम वेयर वी ट्रेनिंग पीपल फॉर द सेकंड फेलोशिप इन क्रिटिकल केयर आफ्टर द फर्स्ट फेलोशिप. तो उस तरह ये इसको भी हमने फॉलो अप में देखा. बिनाइन फाइब्रोस हिस्टोसाइटोमा, ये एक पेशेंट थी जो सर्जरी के बाद हमें रेफर की गई फ्रॉम पेशावर बिकॉज द सर्जन ओपनड हर अप एंड थॉट दैट द ट्यूमर वाज टू क्लोज टू द कराइना एंड फेल्ट दैट शी वाज इनऑपरेबल. तो उन्होंने चेस्ट ट्यूब डाल के वो एक्सरे जल्दी से स्किप कर दिया, फिर दिखाएंगे इस ट्यूमर के साथ से भेजा. शी हैड द सर्जरी a week earlier and we were able to take this out. This was a chondroid hematoma and she was cured, and I'll just share with you the x-rays in a while. So we use a combination of APC, electrocartilage snare cryotherapy to do this in other tumors. इसी तरह हमने carcinoids कई निकाले हैं जो operable नहीं थे because they were at the carina or in the upper lobe, too close to the trachea. ये धीर से आई थी, ये इसका ट्यूमर है। अच्छा, अब हमारा pulmonologist का क्या रोल हो गया in these cases? हम स्क्रीनिंग के लिए तो बात होगी, पाकिस्तान अभी स्क्रीनिंग के लिए तैयार नहीं, उतने हमारे पास ट्रक नहीं कि जो हम सिटी स्कैनर्स गली मोहल्लों में लगा दें, ना ही हमारे लोग स्क्रीनिंग में इंटरेस्टेड हैं। हमारे लोग बड़े अजीब हैं। अगर किसी का लंग कैंसर स्टेज 3 पे डिटेक्ट हो, मैं डिप्रेस हो जाता हूँ, पेशेंट को बताओ कि जी तो सर्जरी की लोड़ नहीं करता, डॉक्टर साहब बहुत मेहरबानी, तो वो समझता है कि सर्जरी तो बच गया मैं, उसे नहीं पता कहता बंदा 6 महीने में फारिग, लेकिन एक दफ़ा वो खुश हो जाता है कि मुझे सर्जरी की ज़रूरत नहीं। तो डायग्नोसिस by different modalities, but more importantly, selected patients with pre-op assessment, into post-op care, inoperable disease with palliative care, and then our interventional pulmonology program at Services Hospital and Doctors Hospital, we are doing bronchoscopic dissection of benign lesions, tumor deworking, airway stenting. Future में शायद intra-regional therapy आ जाए। अच्छा, अब पाकिस्तान में बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम क्या है? Why have I shown this? ये अमल दास मैंने किसी वजह से डाला है। लंग कैंसर में जब हमने करना है काम, तो हमें स्मोकिंग को तो टारगेट करना है। हमारे पास डॉक्टर तुफैल लंग कैंसर स्मोकिंग रोकने के लिए कोई दवाइयाँ नहीं हैं। We do not have bupropion available here. ज़्यादातर वो bupropion है, सॉरी वो वेरानिस्लिन हमारे पास नहीं है। निकोटीन रिप्लेसमेंट कंसिस्टेंटली नहीं मिलती। ईस्टर्न यूरोप में सर, ईस्टर्न यूरोप में मतलब ये साइटिसिन एक एल्कलॉइड है, वो यूज हो रहा है फॉर निकोटीन विड्रॉल, और ये अमलतास के डोडों से निकलता है, अमलतास से लाहौर भरा हुआ। तो आई थिंक वन इन सेशन आफ्टर दिस विद द फार्मा, ये आपके पास यूके में टैपेक्स मिलती है और अभी अमेरिका में अप्रूव हुई है, पाकिस्तान में उगती है लेकिन इस्तेमाल नहीं होती। तो हमारे लोग जो सिगरेट छोड़ना भी चाहते हैं, उनके पास कोई ऑप्शन नहीं है, तो वी नीड टू डेवलप। ये तो बड़े तो सस्ता तरीन काम है यार, यहाँ पे पड़ी हुई है, येट वी डोंट हैव एक्सेस टू इट। तो आई थिंक टुडे with your experience using Tapex for smoking cessation, I would like कि जो हमारा इसके बाद सेशन हो, जहाँ हम इंडस्ट्री वालों से ये बात कर रहे हैं कि वो टारगेटेड थेरेपीज लंग कैंसर के लिए लेके आए, वहाँ हम उनसे ये भी बात करें कि जो स्मोकिंग सेसेशन के लिए थेरेपी हो सकती है, जो इफेक्टिव भी है, उसको इस्तेमाल किया जाए। और आई थिंक दैट वुड बी अ ग्रेट सर्विस दैट वी कैन डू। बाकी पैलिएटिव केयर ही है, अभी तक कीमोथेरेपी भी महंगी है, टारगेटेड थेरेपीज पाकिस्तान में भी अवेलेबल है भी, तो देयर आउट ऑफ रीच। आई थिंक आई हैव टेकन अप लॉट ऑफ टाइम, सो आई जस्ट स्टॉप हियर एंड देन अलाउ क्वेश्चन टू बी। थैंक यू।
Now, before we conclude our session, let me welcome and thank our worthy teacher, in fact, teacher of teachers, Professor Mahmood Ali Malik, and Professor Majid Chaudhary Saab for joining us here today. It's a great honor to have you here with us today. May I now request Dr. Tabinda Dubal for her concluding remarks.
Thank you everyone for most interesting talks. It was a wonderful morning knowing what is happening in the diabetes front, which is very close to my heart, what's happening in Pakistan with service development in diabetes. And two of my classmates who are very, very eminent. One of them is a pulmonologist and the other a gastroenterologist. So I must thank them here. Thank you, Vyas, and thank you, Arman, for always taking care of people who I send you over as patients. So thank you ever so much. And again, knowing what is going on in England and comparing the services here, it is really good to know that we are there to collaborate and that we are always there to back up the services here, to develop services, to develop training and everything that is possible that we can do from the KEMU front, KEMU UK front, and we are always there. And that's all I have to say, and thank you ever so much. And Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam.
So with this, we come to the end of our session today. I now request you all to please join us for tea outside and also to please come back by 11:30 a.m. sharp, because we'll be starting with our plenary session at 11:30. Thank you all.
Excellence and clinical acumen, as I had the fortune of learning from Professor Namodani Malik. So welcome, sir. I would also like to ask the student lead of this session, if he is here, a student from 4th year, to take the seat on the stage. Welcome. So, as you will know, that we have started this symposium for the first time last year. This is our second symposium, and I think you will all agree that the enthusiasm and the eagerness with which the audience has attended is quite remarkable. We also have a short exhibition just outside relating to hospital management systems, innovation in IT and technology, and also a public welfare project by Thai libraries. So, without further ado, I would invite the cardiology presenter for today. It was to be Professor Saqib Shafi, but unfortunately he can't be here today. But he has deputized a professor from PIC who will discuss the primary PCI services and how to establish them and take them forward in Lahore. Welcome.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum, good morning to everybody. I am Dr. Shahid Hamid from the Chief of Cardiology of Lahore. Actually, this talk was prepared by my colleague and friend, Dr. Saqib Shafi. He is a cardiologist and he heads PIC at the moment. At somewhere for a non-academic reason, so I had to give this talk. Okay. It's good that Professor Nadeem Disease here. We are colleagues and friends for many years. He heads NICVD Karachi, which has established an exemplary primary PCI program and which is quoted everywhere in the country and internationally. He is also President of Pakistan Society of Interventional Cardiology and myself being Vice President of Pakistan Society of Interventional Cardiology. In the morning session, Dr. Tariq Azim was also here. He is visiting from UK. He had his talk on primary PCI and setting up centers in UK. Okay, before I come to this, that how do we establish a center for primary PCI? Let's first focus and understand what actually is the treatment for STEMI or acute myocardial infarction, where basic pathogenesis is occlusion of the artery with a thrombus. And in the background of current evidence and supported by international guidelines, let's spend a few minutes on this particular slide. Mainstay of STEMI or acute myocardial infarction is a reperfusion therapy. Reperfusion therapy is indicated in all patients with symptoms of ischemia of duration less than 12 hours and persistent ST segment elevation. And evidence for this strategy is class 1 with level of evidence A. Go to the next. A primary PCI strategy is recommended over fibrinolysis with indicated time frames. Again, level of evidence is still class 1. Indication is still class 1 with level of evidence A. Now the third thing is very important. Everyone sitting here talking about primary PCI moving forward, but we must not forget that if timely primary PCI PCI cannot be performed after STEMI diagnosis, fibrinolytic therapy is recommended within 12 hours of symptoms onset in patients without contraindication. So I move back to the previous slide. So time goals are very important when we talk about any primary PCI program and treatment of STEMI and reperfusion therapy. So it's very important to define time zero. Just like in stroke, where time zero is someone seeing well. Here time zero is when a patient meets healthcare personnel. There's the first medical contact. Here time zero starts, and then you have to do things with a great speed. First is doing ECG, establishing diagnosis within 10 minutes. If it is thrombolysis, start thrombolysis within 10 minutes. And if it comes to primary PCI, then the aim is to cross the wire, to open the vessel by 60 minutes. And if patient is not in a center where primary PCI is done, then someone has to make an assessment. Can this patient be transferred to a PCI legal center within 120 minutes or not? So if someone can be transferred and have artery opened and a wire crossed, then he should be transferred to such a center, otherwise fibrinolytic therapy or treatment with a thrombolytic should be his treatment at that instance and then transferred afterwards. Those who cannot get primary PCI get a thrombolytic therapy. Current guidelines still state that someone should get an angiogram within 24 hours. So this is a slide of all those targets which I mentioned. Okay, now let's move to the main topic. Population of Lahore in millions. Lahore city is 12 millions, adjacent towns 8 millions, other adjacent areas about 7 million, and total of 27 millions. There was a slide in Dr. Tariq's presentation earlier this morning talking about primary PCI setup and programs in UK, where the guidelines stated that there should be one primary PCI center for about 1 million of population. So talking about Lahore and adjoining areas, if we have to establish or set up primary PCI centers, so it will mean about 27 primary PCI centers to serve population of Lahore and surrounding population. Punjab Institute of Cardiology was established in 1988. Started as an outpatient. Next year was an inpatient service with angiography and coronary artery bypass. At the moment, it's 500-bedded hospital where we have 7 cath labs. 2 of them are in the emergency floor, and we have a 200-bedded emergency. This is a newer concept as well. Generally around the world, large emergencies don't exist. But in Punjab Institute of Cardiology, 200-bedded emergency has been established with the help of funding by businesses group. Okay, it started somewhere in 2014 and completed in 2017. Now, other cath labs in Lahore are in KEMU Hospital, Jinnah Hospital, Social Security Hospital, Gulab Devi Hospitals. These are the centers which cater for poor class of patients or provide free service in bulk. There are 12 cath labs in private hospitals. Now this is a trend of patients in PIC. You see that 2016 to 27, there is a sharp rise in the number of admissions and patients presenting in emergency. This is because of those extra 200 beds in the new emergency. Angiography procedures, sharp rise, over 22,000 in 2018. Intervention with PCI, over 5,000 last year. We have been trying to do PCIs, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And the number has picked up gradually. This setup has evolved slowly. And in this year, starting from January up till 15th of December 2019, we have done about 2,100 PCIs from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. It's not a 24-hour service. But when we talk about the primary PCI center, we must know that PCI is also catering a lot of non-cardiac patients. Obviously, patients have to present with chest pain and then they are triaged and found not to be non-cardiac, and all those are presenting in PIC emergency as well. There are a lot of heart failure patients, cerebral heart disease, arrhythmias. There are large government sector hospitals still without cath labs. Services Hospital, Sir Gangaram Hospital, Lahore General Hospital, and Shahjar Teaching Hospital. There are still large cities with big populations in neighborhood of Lahore which are without cath labs. Gujranwala, Sahiwal, Okada, Sialkot. Now, whenever you have to establish a primary PCI program, what are the challenges? Trained manpower. Dr. Nadeem did talk this morning. Trained manpower is there in a lot of centers in the Punjab. The main thing is organization, funding, and there was a very important thing in his talk, that is cost, money. It has to come into all these setups. There is nothing free. Primary PCI stands, disposable gadgets, trained manpower working out of hours. They have to be facilitated. So we all know that a primary setup will start from the first contact of the patient through the healthcare personnel, hospitals with cath labs, trained persons and all the necessary gadgets. Now there is another concept as well. We are talking about primary PCI intervention. That if you can't give primary PCI to everybody in a region where a lot of people don't get even simple angiograms, a lot of areas without cath labs, then maybe in the guidelines, number 3 strategy, which is a pharmacoinvasive strategy, that maybe you thrombolize most of the people and then select those who need intervention on invasive strategy and then shift them towards those hospitals which provide invasive strategy. So, in the background of all this talk about primary PCI, we still talk about that strategy as well. Because we have to think very, very sensibly. When we start with PCI, the story doesn't end there. The cost keeps on going up. primary PCI ends up in stage PCIs, and then a lot of patients end up having coronary artery bypass surgery. So committing oneself to PCI certain centers with their cost resources have to rationalize their strategies. Now, when we talk about primary PCI program in a region, we must not forget that a single unit cannot provide all the services. We, from PIC, have expressed it at various forums, politically and at various diplomatic forums, that whenever we talk about UK or United States, their primary PCI programs have been developed on regional basis. Patients, population, certain areas have to be drained to certain hospitals. Not that a patient from Multan will start his journey and come with heart attack to PCI or to PIC for PCI. So, a central control system where various centers in Lahore, maybe various corners of Lahore, and all of them catering patients from their concerned geographical areas. So this slide is again about that pharmaco-invasive strategy. If we can't provide primary PCI within those targets, if someone has to start from Shadra and rather than going to Mayo Hospital for primary PCI, has to go to PIC and not meet those targets, rather than getting PCI in 90 minutes, get it within 4 hours, then we should change the strategy, maybe thrombolize first and then transfer to a center with a cath lab. Okay?
Focus group meeting between 2 to 3 o'clock in the VC office. If all the cardiologists who are here today would like to attend, so we can, brainstorm and come up with ideas in how to take it forward. The next speaker is Dr. Abdul Bari Khan, of Chief Executive of Indus Hospital, which has developed very nicely for public good and welfare on a charitable basis, employing very modern practices, including IT systems, which are being used by many other hospitals as well. So Professor Khan will speak about solving problems with blood transfusion using water technology. So welcome, Abdul Bari Khan.